Welcome students to the 8th lecture of Quantum Mechanics lecture series. Earlier in the previous video lectures we had covered the problem of one-dimensional potential box and the potential step. Today in this lecture we are going to discuss another application of Schrodinger equation, that is particle across potential barrier. So let us first begin with what actually is the potential barrier. Look at the figure. Here, three regions are shown: region 1, region 2, and region 3. Here, region 2 is the region showing the potential barrier region. Earlier, in the problem of potential step, if you remember the potential step where we had a potential hill of certain height, but in that problem, we had considered this A as 0. I mean, in that case, potential step is a special case of potential barrier where we have 0 width. And that is why that was called the potential step. And here we have included into our calculations the width A of the potential, height V naught, and named it as potential barrier. So this is the potential barrier, which is of finite width A and height V naught. See in this figure, E, the energy of the particle, which is moving along positive x direction towards the potential barrier, carries energy E, which is quite less than the height of the potential barrier. So mathematically, this situation can be written as Vx is the potential which is 0 for x less than 0. It means for the region 1, the potential is 0, while for the region 2, which is x greater than equal to 0 and less than equal to a, this yellow region, for this region, the potential is V naught. Further, again in the region 3, the potential drops and becomes 0 for all x greater than equal to a. So this is the problem of potential barrier, and we have to solve it for studying the motion of the particle, the behavior of the particle. So let us first see what the classical mechanics has to say about this situation. Classical mechanics says that since a particle can behave only as a particle, so if it carries energy less than the potential height, then it can never cross the potential barrier of height greater than its energy, and obviously it cannot penetrate into this region, and it will simply hit and reflect back into the region 1. So there is no probability of appearing of the particle in the third region, and it will always remain in the region 1. Now, on the contrary, as we have seen in the problem of potential step, quantum mechanics says that along with the particle nature, every matter possesses the wave behavior, and that wave behavior is governed by the Schrodinger wave equation. So in order to solve this problem, we will solve the Schrodinger wave equation separately into all these three regions. And since the potential is here independent of time, so we will make use of time independent form of Schrodinger wave equation, which is given by d square psi x. Psi is dependent only on x, as we have considered the particle motion only in the x direction. So t square psi x over dx square plus 2m over h cross square into e minus v psi x is equal to 0. This is the time independent Schrodinger wave equation, and we will solve this equation for all the three regions to observe the particle behavior. So let us take first the region 1, and this is the time independent Schrodinger wave equation. So you know for the region 1 x is less than 0, and for the region 1 the potential is 0. So just substitute v0 here, and at the same time you also write, in order to distinguish the wave function in the three regions, as psi1 for the region 1, psi 2 for the region 2, and psi 3 for the region 3. So psi 1 is the wave function for the region 1. So now the equation becomes d square psi 1 over dx square plus 2m over h cross square. As v is 0, so here we have left with e psi 1 equal to 0. Or we can also write it in terms of wave propagation vector, where wave propagation vector becomes k1 square equal to 2me over h cross square. This is the same thing we have done already in case of potential box and potential step also. In doing so, I have made use of these basic relations of quantum mechanics. So solution of this equation can be written mathematically in the form of exponentials. So psi1 is the solution of this equation. It can be written as sum of these two exponential parts, a into exponential iota k1x plus b exponential minus iota k1x. Here the first part, the exponential has the positive argument, which means that it represents the incident wave in the region 1. Why incident? Because it is the wave which is traveling in the plus x direction, positive x direction, which is obviously the incident wave. And look at the second term, it has the negative exponential argument. So it is the term which represents the wave which is traveling in negative x direction. So it must be the reflected wave, which upon hitting the potential hill gets reflected back into the region 1. So here a and b are arbitrary constants. Obviously we have to solve for them later. So next we should calculate the solution of Schrodinger equation in the region 2. So for the region 2, you know, x lies between 0 and a, which are the limits of potential barrier, and here the potential is the potential height v0. So replace in this equation the value of potential, and wave function also becomes here as psi 2. Write the Schrodinger wave equation, which becomes d square psi 2 over dx square plus 2m over h cross square into e minus v naught into psi 2 equal to 0. So, see, energy of the particle is less than the potential height. So, obviously, this quantity E minus V naught is a negative quantity. So, I will take minus as common from here, and the equation becomes in this form. Here comes the negative sign, and the terms inside the bracket becomes V naught minus E. So, we can write this equation in terms of wave propagation vector again in the same form which we have done in the region 1. So here K2 becomes K2 square equal to 2m into V naught minus E divided by H cross square. Here again I have made use of the same quantum mechanical relations. So the general solution of this equation can be written as the exponential forms C exponential minus k2x plus d exponential k2x. You can see here the iotas do not appear. So for now we can't say anything about these terms. So let us go and solve the Schrodinger equation for the region 3. So for the region 3, psi becomes psi 3, and here v becomes 0 once again. So writing Schrodinger equation for this region, you see, this becomes the same case as was in region 1, except that psi 3 appears here. The wave propagation vector of course becomes the same as was in region 1. It is written here k1 not k3, and k1 is again equal to k1 square equal to 2me over h cross square, or you can also write k1 as under the root 2me over h cross square. Again, the relations are identical as we had used in the region 1. So you can also write the general solution for this equation again in the forms of exponentials. Arbitrary constants I have used here as E and F. So again for this term iota appears here, and I can also say about this that this is the term which represents the wave traveling in positive x direction. So it must be the transmitted wave from the region 1 which has penetrated region 2 and appeared in the region 3. And in the same way, I should also say about this term that this must be the wave part which is getting reflected in the region 3. But you see, in the region 3, the wave traveling in negative x direction is not possible. As you know, there is no uh, particle source which generates wave, so that may travel in negative x direction. So we can drop this term, or can simply say that f is equal to 0 here, and the solution of the Schrodinger equation can be simply written taking the first term only. So this is the final solution of the wave function in the region 3 as e into exponential iota k1 x. So by now I have calculated all the three wave functions. Now this is the turn to calculate the constants which were involved in the solution. So you can understand, you can also remember that in the previous problems also in the potential box and potential step, we determined the constants making use of the boundary conditions. The boundary conditions applies on the wave function. So let us see what are the boundary conditions. If this is the situation, we say that the wave functions must be continuous everywhere. So if the wave function must be continuous everywhere, it must be continuous at x equal to 0 also. Here at x equal to 0, the wave function switches from psi1 to psi2. So at this position, the wave function psi must be continuous. Second boundary condition, that here also the wave function gets switched from psi2 to psi3. So at this position x equal to a, it must be continuous. Third, along with the value of wave function, its derivatives also must be continuous at everywhere at x equal to 0 and x equal to a also. So fourth condition is the derivative must be continuous at x equal to a. So these are the four boundary conditions that we are going to use in order to determine the constants which are involved in the solutions of the wave function in all these three regions. So let us see first the condition 1, which says that the wave function psi must be continuous at boundary x equal to 0. These are the three equations which we have evaluated as solutions of Schrodinger wave equation in all the three regions. And A, B, C, D and E, these are the five constants for which we are doing the use of boundary conditions. So if the wave function psi is continuous at x equal to 0, obviously the psi1 in the region 1 at x equal to 0 and psi2 in the region 2 at x equal to 0, these both terms must be equal. So let us replace their values from here, three equations, and putting x equal to 0 everywhere, you just get final result as a plus b is equal to c plus d. So now I got the first relation connecting the constants. So let us use now the condition 2, which says that the wave function must be continuous now at boundary x equal to a. So again, at x equal to a, psi 2 and psi 3 must be equal, taking x equal to a. So again make use of these equations and replace x by a. So this is the equation now you get from condition 2. Now this is the condition 3, which says that the derivatives also of the wave function psi be continuous at x equal to 0. So take derivatives of psi 1 and psi 2, place x equal to 0 and equate them. So if you take derivatives and solve them, and in the final result put x equal to 0, finally you will get iota k1 into a minus b is equal to minus k2 into c minus d. Or simply I can write a minus b is equal to iota k2 over k1 into c minus d. So this is the third relation connecting the arbitrary constants. So let us now make use of condition 4 finally. It says that the derivative of wave function psi must also continuous at the second boundary of the potential barrier, which is x equal to a, which means that the two wave functions psi 2 and psi 3 are involved at the second boundary of potential barrier at x equal to a. So let us take derivative of psi 2 and psi 3 and equate them at the values x equal to a. So take derivative from these two equations, and after taking derivative I replace all the x by a in the equation and finally arrive at the result minus c exponential minus k to a plus d exponential k to a is equal to iota k2 over k1 into e into exponential iota k1 a. So making use of these four conditions, I get these four equations labeled as 1, 2, 3, and 4, which connects the constants A, B, C, and D and E. So we have to use these four equations in order to calculate the exact value for the constants. So the calculation steps are: number one, you should add equation number 2 and equation number 4. After adding, label the final equation as equation number 5. In step 2, you just subtract these both equation and label the result as equation number 6. In the third step, add these resulting equation 5 and 6 and label it as equation number 7. In the next step, you just subtract these both equations and label it as 7 and 8. Now make use of the values of 7 and 8 in equation 1 and 2 as 7 in 1 and 8 in 3 and label it as equation number 9 and 10. By following these 6 steps, you will finally get the equation number 9 and equation number 10. What are these both equations? These both equations are, this is equation number 9 as A equal to this much amount and equation number 10 as B equal to this much amount. Now you can see, students, that these two constants are also evaluated in terms of the another constant E. Here E appears and here also in the value of B E appears. So this is the final value of A and B that we can extract from using the four equations. So knowing these value of A and B, I want to calculate now the reflection coefficient. Why reflection coefficient? You see that on hitting the potential barrier, the particle has maximum chances of reflecting back into the region A, which means that there are very less chances of getting penetrated into the region 2 and finally into the region 3. So our first job is to see what actually is the reflection coefficient. Reflection coefficient represents the probability of getting a reflection of the particle, and this coefficient is defined by the ratio of the reflected probability density current S reflected and the incident probability density current S incident. Now this quantity probability density current is defined by the product of the velocity in the given region by the probability density. So S reflected is the V1. V1 is the velocity of particle in the region 1, and psi star, it is the probability density in the region 1. So psi reflected and psi star reflected, I have replaced these by the values b exponential minus iota k1x, and this is exponential plus iota k1x. Why plus? Because this is the complex conjugate of this quantity. Now you may ask from where this quantity appears. Students, you might remember the past slide where I show you the snapshot of that slide where we had calculated the wave function in the first region and labeled the first term as incident wave and the second term as reflected wave. So here we are calculating the probability density current for the reflected wave. So S psi reflected will be the b exponential minus iota k1 x. So I have just made use of this part and replaced it here. In the similar way, I can also calculate the probability density current for the incident wave, and for the incident wave obviously psi incident becomes the first term of this equation, a into exponential iota k1x, and its complex conjugate becomes exponential minus iota k1x. So now you know both these probability density currents, and now you can calculate the reflection coefficient. The reflection coefficient simply becomes, upon dividing these two, and the exponential terms cancels out and you are left with bb star divided by a star, and from here you know the value of a and b that we calculated in our past calculation. So see, upon substituting the values of a and b, you get finally reflection coefficient as this quantity. See, this is the reflection coefficient, which is a direct measure of the probability of the chances that the particle is reflected from the potential barrier of the height V naught. So, if the particle is reflecting back, and the reflection coefficient you can see from here is not 1, it means that particle does not possess the 100% chances of getting reflected back. It means that there are also some probability of getting transmitted, of getting penetrated into the next region, into the region 2. So we must calculate as our next step the transmission coefficient and see that what is the transmission probability. So this calculation can be done as we have done previously for reflection coefficient. So transmission coefficient is simply given by the transmitted probability density current and the incident probability density current. The transmitted probability density current is again given by the product of velocity and the probability density. So transmitted density current is the product of V3 into the transmitted wave function. Now from where this transmitted wave function will come, remember the solution of wave function that we had calculated for the region 3. So for the region 3, you see the transmitted wave part is e into exponential iota k1x, and you also remember that in the region 3, the particle has the potential V0 again, similar to the region 1, and the velocity of the particle becomes again as V1. So V3 is equal to V1, and side transmitted becomes E into exponential iota k1x. It has been taken from the first term of this equation. So upon solving, it simply becomes V1 into EE star. Now, S incident was again same as in region 1, V1 into AA star. So the ratio of this gives us the transmission coefficient, which finally becomes EE star into AA star. So substitute the value of A from here and you will get transmission coefficient as this much amount in terms of K1 and K2. So you can also see again, as reflection coefficient was not 1, the transmission coefficient is not 1, and at the same time it is not 0 also. As it is not 0, it means that particle is definitely getting penetrated through the potential barrier. This equation represents the probability, the chances that the particle is transmitted in the region 3 through the potential barrier and is not equal to 0. So we will explain the situation by naming it as tunnel effect. Why tunnel effect? Because you see, students, that energy of the particle was less than the height of potential barrier, and classical mechanics said that the particle cannot penetrate through this potential barrier because it carries very much less energy than the height of potential barrier. But following the postulates of quantum mechanics, we solved the Schrodinger equation and arrived at the result that the transmission coefficient P does not become 0. So this result is a straight contradiction to the classical mechanics, and this effect is popularly known as the tunnel effect. This clearly states that there is always some probability that even when the energy of the particle is less than the potential height, but it has the capability to penetrate through the barrier and then appear in the region 3. So this is the situation that this was the particle showing wave behavior, and since t is not equal to 0, it means that transmission actually happens with this particle, and after crossing this potential barrier it has to appear in the region 3, and this is known as the tunnel effect. So this prediction is clearly the contradiction to classical behavior. So the phenomena of this transmission of the particle through this potential barrier of width a and height v naught, this phenomena is called the quantum mechanical tunneling. The quantum mechanical tunneling. But you also notice that tunneling not does not always occurs. Tunneling effect is dependent on the potential height and the potential width. If you make the barrier very high, very high, then the energy of the particle, and make it very thick, having very large thickness, A is very large. In that case, the probability of penetration becomes very small. That is, the chances of transmission of the particle from region 1 into region 3 becomes very less. So this is the tunnel effect. So we should also see here that what should be the condition that we can say fully that there will definitely be the transmission of the particle. I mean that while going along with the particle in the region 1 towards positive x direction, when can we say that definitely the perfect transmission would happen? What is the condition for this? So that condition can be calculated by taking t equal to 1. Obviously, when this t, the transmission coefficient, becomes unity, it means that the transmission is 100%. There are 100% chances of getting penetrated through the potential barrier and appearing in the region 3. This will be called as the perfect transmission, the perfect tunnel. So the value of t that we had calculated is 1 divided by this much amount, and if we have to calculate the condition for which t is equal to 1, the second term of the denominator must be equal to 0. It means that this quantity will become 1 only when this k2 square plus k1 square divided by 2 k1 k2 whole square into sine hyperbolic square k2a be equal to 0. So this will be 0 when sine hyperbolic square k2a equal to 0, and upon solving this, k2a becomes integral multiple of pi, or simply k comes out to be n pi by k2. What is k2? K2 is wave propagation vector in the region 2. So you can also write it as 2 pi by lambda, and it becomes simply n pi lambda 2 divided by 2 pi. Pi in the numerator and denominator cancels out, and the value of the barrier width simply becomes n lambda 2 divided by 2. So this is the condition of the perfect transmission, that the barrier width must be equal to n lambda 2 divided by 2. It means that the transmission through the potential barrier will be perfect, will be 100% when the length, or you say this A, the width, potential barrier width, be equal to the integral multiple of lambda 2 by 2, or you can say that half integral multiple of the de Broglie wavelength associated with the particle in the region 2. So this is the condition for the perfect transmission. So students, this was all about the solution of particle across potential barrier. And finally, I summarize the complete solution in 5 simple steps which we have performed in this lecture. So you have seen that, first of all, we solved the Schrodinger equation for all the 3 regions and got these 3 equations as a result: psi1, psi2 and psi3, wave function in region 1, wave function in region 2 and wave function in region 3. In the next step, we evaluated the arbitrary constants that were involved in these equations A, B, C, D and E, and could get the value of A and B in terms of another constant E. In the next step, we calculated the reflection coefficient and the transmission coefficient R and T, and upon observing that R is not equal to 1, means the reflection is not 100%, and T is not equal to 0, which means that there are chances of getting transmission. We see that there is a tunneling effect, and for this, in the final step, we calculated the condition for maximum tunneling, that is for the transmission be 100%, and the condition comes out to be A is equal to n lambda 2 by 2, which means that the width of the potential barrier must be n lambda 2 divided by 2. When this will be the potential barrier width, the transmission will be 100%. So I believe that you all have enjoyed this learning by understanding the solution of potential barrier in a very simple manner. So these three questions I am leaving with you as simple exercises. So you should solve them and answer them in the comment box. In the next lecture, we will discuss the next problem of linear harmonic oscillator as the next application of Schrodinger equation. Enjoy learning. Thank you.